I want to go back to your childhood and tell me the kind of household you grew up in.
I grew in a very modern house by old Dow, chemical, and I followed the contemporary housing and Frank Lloyd Wright.
In your childhood home?
Yes.
Really? So your parents were very interested in...
My mother.
Your mother, in style?
Yes.
And was she interested, or your father, in engineering? Any of the technical?
He was a football coach and an All-American football player.
So you probably disappointed him. He wanted a football?
That's my next brother.
Did all that.
That role, yes.
So here you are in a stylish home with a distinguished coach as your father. How do I get you into a point in your life where you begin to be interested in technology?
Well, I went in the Army first.
It was the Army that did it. I don't want to let you go to the Army yet because I want to know if high school, if there were any teachers, any ideas around you that was making you think, oh, this is an interesting way to think, or not?
Well, my algebra teacher in the 10th grade, 12th grade.
12th grade.
And I always said, well, if you can get an A in his class, you can skip the college class. Because he covered it so thoroughly.
Really? And you were clearly capable of understanding what was going on.
Well, I pretend very well.
So what do you think you're going to do in life? All kids think they're going to be something when they grow up? What did you think, if I met you in the 11th grade and said, what are you going to be when you grow up? What would you have said?
An engineer.
Already?
Already, yes.
I want to then go back again and say, when did the idea of being an engineer come? Was it from an uncle? Was it from a book you read? How did you know that this might be an interesting life for you?
Well, I had an uncle who was a petroleum engineer.
Okay.
And in fact, he was the president of the American Petroleum Institute.
And so he would let you know what the life was like, so to speak.
Right.
And that was for you.
That was for me.
So it turned out that because you're the generation of World War II, that the bad news in your life is that maybe you can't go directly to college from high school. You have to go to the Army. Or did you have a chance to go first to college?
I went to freshman 1 year in college. In fact, I dropped out of high school and went to college a year early.
So somebody knew you were talented.
Yes.
And so you get a year of college.
That's right.
And then you're drafted?
Well, I volunteered. Because I had a deferment.
Yes.
And I went through first year of college and I said, I think it's time to go. So I went down to the draft board and said, I'm ready to go.
Wow. Did anyone try to talk you out of it?
No.
No.
It was the thing to do.
Now, that might have been a profound disruption. Well, it was in many young men's lives. But to what extent did going into the Army actually affect your career positively? Can you tell me what happened in the Army that...
Well, interestingly, I went in the Army and they sent me to the anti-aircraft school for basic training. And I got my first exposure to computers there, fire control computers.
Really?
Which I was very much interested in. And of course, a small fire control computer then was 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet. And you could get 4 men on the corners of this thing in a big long aluminum stick. And they could pick it up and go out across the field and put it in the back of a truck.
Right.
Or take it out of a truck. And so that I got my first computer, and some of the ideas that came out of that when I got back to General Electric 10 years later,
10 years later.
I said, I know what that problem is.
Really? Well, you pose it very interestingly, because I would think that the first sign of a very good engineer and eventually computer hero, if I may call you, is to be interested in the problem. So there you are, you're what, 18, 19 when you're first?
Well, I was 18 when I went in the Army.
Okay, and soon after you were involved with the computer, this large computer. And what was the problem that was going through your mind as you tried to think about it?
Well, the problem I had, this is that the computer we had was being used on a batch basis. You get an order from somebody, in this case is I don't want to say it, it's a basis of, excuse me, the basis for taking initial plan for this computer
Right.
to sell, and then, but the problem is that things changed. And we were using a computer in a batch mode, so we didn't had to make a plan to change a plan. And so I said, what we need to do is have the kind of thing that we did in anti-aircraft. We had trouble shooting down Japanese airplanes
Right.
because they wouldn't fly straight.
Which is very uncooperative of them.
That's right. So we aimed tough and guns at them, and then we move. And so I was aware at that time of the airborne computers with the missiles.
Right.
And so they could redirect the ship. I see you now, there you are, I'm gonna get you. Zzz. Oh, sorry. There you are. And because our missiles could fly twice as fast
Yes.
as the bombs, we were able to catch up with the plane. And it turned out the Japanese quickly learned that if they dodged too, we couldn't get them either.
Right.
So it was I can hit you, but you can't hit me. Oh, no, I can't hit you either.
It was a battle of wits, really.
Battle of wits, and it was really the whole period of time between World War II and we got into long-range missiles. It was a matter of being able to redirect the missile to its negative.
Which is still an ongoing challenge, and
Right,
because it's technology meeting technology.
absolutely.
And who's going to be on the next step? The first one to get there.
Right, first one to get there.
How much are you at this point? You're a young, clever man. You have, because the world has gone crazy, an opportunity to connect with a computer very early. Are you deciding then, you probably already knew you wanted to be an engineer, but are you becoming particularly intrigued by the computer and its future?
Well, interestingly, I started with General Electric and Dow Chemical Company, and actually before real computers, it was a punch card era. And so we could learn to solve problems with punch cards before magnetic tape.
Huh.
So I'm a pre-computer guy. I'm a punch card guy. And it turns out it would take us 2 days to solve a set of problems. But there was, we had things that moved slower than 1950.
Right. So let's keep you in college at the moment.
Right.
And your decision, are you responding to great professors? Are you the guy in the back room tinkering while they're talking about something else? What's your social, intellectual situation in college?
Well, the question is, where did I get my PhD? Well, I didn't get one. I got my bachelor's degree from Michigan State College,
Right?
and I want to go get an advanced degree in thermodynamics,
Thermodynamics.
although I don't know, I knew what thermodynamics was. But and I went to the University of Pennsylvania,
Right?
and I discovered after I got there that actually the graduate program in thermodynamics was a program in night school for the local industry guys. And so what am I going to do? And a friend I met there said, well, why don't you go to the warden school in the daytime?
Really?
And I could get a master's degree in business systems, and I can get a master's degree in thermodynamics. And when I graduated, I got a job with Dow Chemical Company, and that Aaron Brooks, who was one of the chief engineers at Dow Chemical,
Uh-huh.
said, I got a problem for you here. I've got a 12-inch diameter valve. We're going to install a new pipeline in the plant. And should I buy the one which is the more expensive or the cheaper one? And I said, well, there ought to be a system by which you decide those things.
That was your response.
Yeah, so I, in fact, went to the treasurer of the company, Carl Gerstacker, and said, I need your help. How much do you want to get, the company want to get paid for this new valve? And he says, well, the board of directors makes those decisions. He said, I'm sorry, Mr. Gerstacker, but the engineers make those decisions every day,
Wow.
and you're not around to tell them. They just do it.
A little presumptuous of you.
Well,
No, I'm just kidding, but I mean, it sounds like you're seeing a problem, you're respectful,
right,
but you're pretty young,
right.
and somebody who's supposed to know more than you is telling you, and you're saying no.
Mr. Gerstacker was pretty young too.
Oh, he was? Okay. So two young men, both clever, but you're the one thinking of the next step.
Right. So the system that they used for some 10, 15 years afterwards was based on the punch card system I set up for them.
Ah,
And they could run it and make decisions, and they could make smart decisions because they had the kind of calculations all lined up, and we just set them up and run them.
So I want to know where you are. You're still young. You're sensing the problems that need to be solved. You're going to interesting meetings because you see that they're interesting. But who is not getting it at some point? For example, in the Dow context, is everyone saying, right, Charlie, or are they not listening to you sometimes?
Oh, and not missing a lot. They weren't listening at all.
They weren't listening at all.
Except for Carl Gerstacker, who was the treasurer of the company. And we're using his punch card systems to calculate return on investment. And so this was my first experience of discounted cash flow.
I'm actually very interested in the community of computer thinking.
Right.
So you're saying that people were eager to share. It was not, everybody was not hiding their insights, their information. It was sort of problem solving together.
Yes.
Do you think?
And every week they would publish share notes. They go to all the members. And so every week I'd have a new manual to read
Yes.
that reflected what people had really learned that week.
I'm aware but not really informed about the whole question of proprietary knowledge in commercial context. So I may completely misunderstand it, but you're surprising me in the freeness of the flow of information. Was that always true? Did it continue to be true throughout your career? Or was this a moment when, of such newness, that people were more inclined to share?
Well, they were desperately in need of help and ideas.
Ah.
And so there was no prior experience of people using free software. So they just shared with people and gave them ideas, and I just tagged on and became a member of that.
Huh. Did you develop a particular friendship, intellectual or otherwise, as a result of meeting these people?
Yes, a couple of people like Russ McGee, who was with General Electric and an early user of an IBM 702. And I called Russ last week just to see how he's doing. He's a couple of years younger than I am.
A kid, really.
Yes.
So friendships developed. Intellectual friendships as well? Was it both a personal and intellectual friendship?
Yes.
Now, when you would go back to your company from these meetings, were they eager to hear what you had learned, to support what you next wanted to do?
No, I was kind of floating out in a bubble.
Uh-huh.
And it turned out that there was a group in New York working for General Electric that were trying to get organized to do a new generic, is the right word, is a generic system for using in manufacturing control. And so I was hired by GE away from Dow Chemical. And I left Dow because I wasn't going anywhere.
So Dow wasn't getting it.
And they weren't going anywhere.
Okay. And what were you offered as working conditions and to pursue your ideas? What were they interested that you could bring to them?
Well, I never really had a job position, the title, but later on I decided, well, really what I am, I'm the chief architect of this project. Because I was thinking the furthest ahead.
Yes.
And so the people joined the project from different parts of GE took their lead from me.
Right.
And that's what became the first database management system.
Remarkable. GE was a particularly forward-looking company at this point.
Yes.
Again, in the corporate culture, did you feel that? Was there leadership at the top saying, find me the smart people, tell me what they need, and let them do it?
Right. Well, then let us go ahead and actually work for 3 years on the project with not saying, you're not getting anywhere, let's cut it out. They said, go to it.
Which is probably not so usual in business life. I mean, they want something immediately, and actually American culture tends to want something immediately. But they had the foresight to say, resources, smart people, let's see where it goes.
Well, the computer was new, the people were new, and there were little places in GE where and of course GE was using computers themselves, but in a batch order processing way. In our cases, we wanted to do something new. We wanted to do order processing, orders, and be able to reflect change. In fact, one of the groups we were trying to sell our product to encourage it, and we told them that we were using this group that was, they were the people who were doing the World War II operations research. And I said, well, we were doing this operations research stuff. They said, well, you're not doing operations research. We do operations research. But we ended up, said, well, why not? So I said, we set up a schedule, and if it didn't work, we just ran it again. And so we could go further ahead and make a successful trial.
So there's a relatively 3-year investment in searching for the answers to the problems you had posed. Was there a eureka moment in that process where you said, okay, I think we're almost there?
Well, the operations research people said you should be calculating an ideal solution. And I said, well, that's nice, but we'd be satisfied with a feasible solution. So that if the solution is good enough, they could work the next 24 hours on it.
Right.
And then look at what we got and try that out. So we were not looking for a perfect result, we're looking for a feasible result.
Right.
And that's what became the first database management system in the world.
Which turned out to be pretty feasible.
Yes, it did. Well, it worked.
It worked. It worked. What did it do? I mean, you're talking to a non-computer specialist. Tell me the joy of what it could now do that couldn't happen before.
Well, what we could do, we could calculate a solution to the manufacturing control problem. And we recognized that even though we had a solution, it wasn't perfect because something would go wrong in the shop, and then they would go back and redo it again. I said, well, we can just redo it again too. So we would go back and recalculate the answers and turn it loose on the shop to build that part and adjust it, fix it. And as we did that later with airplanes, we could get something out that was useful. And people then could say, well, I've got a feasible solution that we can fly with.
Right, literally. Now, again, in the process of innovation, I'm interested in whether someone who has solved the problem feasibly that he had set out to do thinks, okay, we're there, we're kind of where we need to be, or does a new restlessness set in? You know, a new sort of, okay, we solved that, now what don't we know? Were you in that mode?
The world where we're living in
Yes.
is one where the computer itself was, every 2-3 years, was getting twice as fast, twice as big in a sense, and you could solve a bigger problem. So we could run the same problems over again, knowing that they could get a better solution and better time,
Yes.
and let the factory move more quickly to a not only feasible, but a better than feasible.
Yes.
solution to the problem.
I'm interested in some of the legal implications of the new ideas that you're working on and coming. Where there are problems within industry, within computers, and then there are problems in terms of ownership of ideas. How does that work? How does patent law work within the context of what you were doing?
Well, interestingly, at that time, the patent department said you cannot patent inventions, software.
Really?
And so we were stuck on that. And finally, the Supreme Court took a case, and they voted to permit software to be invented. And they had 2 GE cases. No, excuse me, by then, Honeywell had taken over from GE on that. And so they said, well, we could do these, and they picked the other guy, another associate of mine, who was doing something else in software. And so I was the second software invention.
Ah, this is life-changing for the progress of
Right.
the industry. And often one doesn't think about the legal framework in which these things happen. So much progress, I'm guessing, from what you're saying, would not have proceeded had this law not been changed.
That's right.
I'm also interested in when you reach a certain place in life, very often it becomes very important to connect with young people who are the next generation and the generation after that. Do you ever have opportunities? There are things like the Heidelberg Laureate Forum. Do you enjoy that, and do you think something happens when somebody who has achieved so much encounters the young?
Well, yes. Well, I went to Heidelberg the first year.
And what did you think you were getting into?
I'm still trying to find out.